It's story time.
Welcome. If you are here for story time, thank you for joining me. If you're coming and seeing this video after the fact, thank you for joining me. Story time started just about a year ago this week. In fact, this starts my next season or my next year of sharing stories. Now, the truth be told, and some of you may remember me sharing about this in the sense that story time was intended to be an opportunity for real-time connection, meaning live guests sharing their stories and their work, their life's work in terms of inspiration and how they stay intimate in that passion and that purpose. And instead, because of COVID-19, and because of digital fatigue, Storytime has become more of a video log of you and me coming together and me sharing what's on my heart, what's on my mind. And that too has its benefits, right? I don't want this to sound like I'm undermining what Storytime has become, but rather affirming what Storytime has done in terms of its first year. This is an entirely off the cuff. I do a little planning to have a topic to share, and today that topic is gratitude. All month long I've been trying to cultivate a deeper sense of gratitude, and that is what this is about today. Because whereas I started story time in time for Thanksgiving, I actually shared for my first story the story of going home for Thanksgiving. As a college student, my brother and I were in a couple of states over from where my family lived, and so we coordinated a ride to get home for the holidays. And that was special for Thanksgiving, to have the 7 of us kids, the 7 siblings, all get home together to gather around literally this huge table that was our living room, that was our dining room table. Because there was 7 of us and always at least an extra someone somewhere, our table would fit between 10 comfortably and 20 in intimacy. So that was how Storytime started, and so I wanted to reflect a moment on how far Storytime has come, what we've accomplished together, but also to take a little bit of a pause in gratitude that we've had this opportunity to connect. That I don't love wearing a mask and working with a mask on. I don't love being distant from my friends and my students. But in order to honor our current crisis, in order to honor the reality of what is, learning these new skills of how to show up authentically, even in an absence of space or time, in a distance between this moment where I am recording this and the moment in which perhaps you hear the message. So I'm curious what this year has been for you. Has it been one of trial and tribulation, fear and uncertainty? For sure. But is there also places where you have had a moment of pause for gratitude, for celebration, for joy and appreciation? This is my gratitude journal. It's actually a binder that was on my shelf and had good intentions, but never got put to use. It's a lined journal and has a lovely little built-in bookmark, the elastic kind that goes around. This book started as a challenge from my coach to consider a daily gratitude practice. Now, I've had a daily gratitude practice, but it was rather informal. It was in the moments between classes, maybe in the moments of meditation or pause. For years, I have cultivated a practice of beginning again every time I walk through a doorway. It's a habit, it's a mental practice of just allowing those little tiny shifts so that if I do fall off course, I'm having opportunities to reset. And that was how I looked at the gratitude practice. I wanted to cultivate more intentionality in the actions of calculating, of tracking, of containing the moments of gratitude. And if I can be completely honest, some of you already know this, but 2019 and 2020 have been extremely difficult years for me professionally and personally. And so to start this journal kind of in the muck of that, there was no resolution for the first go round of crisis for my personal business and life. And yet gratitude is what called me back to my authentic self, to give me space and permission to remember the practice of gratitude, to remember that this too shall pass. Now, when I first started this practice, I intended it to be an everyday first thing in the morning thing. I'd roll out of bed, take a breath, and I'd move to my window seat, in which case the curtain is closed, so I'd open that up, take a gander outside into my front yard and in my neighborhood, and then open up my journal and pause for as long as it took to find 3 things that I could be grateful for, that I could articulate gratitude towards. The first day of December in 2019 was a Sunday. I was overwhelmed with the challenge at stake and yet excited about the possibilities of what can happen when we dedicate our attention to something good. Sunday, I'm grateful for rest and self-care. It's a rainy day. It's a good to stay home day. I'm grateful for my warm home. It's the first day of the month and I begin with rest. I like the precedent. I'm grateful for rest. By Monday, I'm grateful for the opportunity to begin again and to regroup my strategy and my plan. Come Tuesday, I'm excited that I have the possibility of hiring help for my business. Getting stuff done. Having a graduation celebration with my yoga teacher training class of 2019. Celebrating the new year, birthdays, coffee time with friends. Baking, not because we're in a crisis and can't get our ingredients, but because it was an activity to share. Sleep. A day off. Friends. Cleaning my house. We made it to payday. Phew! There are some days that it was very difficult to come up with anything that I could honestly have gratitude for, which is really just practicing the muscles of peeling back the layers, of reframing from love. And that's a practice that I wish I could say I was greater at, that it was more accessible. But it's becoming more and more accessible. It's more of my routine, much like writing a daily gratitude is more of my routine, having done it disciplined with effort for over a year. What is it that is perhaps a practice that you do inconsistently but rewards you? And what would it look like if you made that practice a daily commitment? Something short, something sweet, something simple. And if you made that a daily practice, little by little, shift by shift, things will start to realign. Things will start to make more sense because you've got something consistent. And that's the beauty of tapas. That's the discipline to show up and do the thing even when you don't feel like it. Now, there are days where I missed my morning gratitude. I got on with the day and only later realized, oh, I didn't write in my journal. More often than not, I remembered before the end of the day. But not always, particularly on weekends when I would get out of my routine. I would begin again. And I honestly allowed myself to also catch up, so that there is a gratitude for every day of the last year. But also teaching myself that you can begin again, living by the practice that I preach, that it's okay to start over, that it's okay to let go. But when we know what matters most, and for me this year has been about cultivating gratitude, intentionally, in fact, it's kind of ironic to see this now, but I want to open up the page for the first day of January. I don't know if you can see that, but it says 2020, the year of abundance. I'm still hoping that 2020 can be reframed in an understanding of abundance, not in sorrow and pain, but in connection, in authenticity, in gratitude. It's not a waste of time. It's not a waste of breath to have lived through this journey. We're not done yet, hence the masks, hence I'm alone in the studio. But I'm committed to staying in the practice of gratitude, in the practice of living intimately with inspiration. And that's where I'm going to take story time in the coming year, is coming back to that source of inspiration and looking for ways that I can support you in living more authentically, more intimately with inspiration, and fundamentally rooted in gratitude and love. Thank you for spending these few moments with me. Please reply with something that you are grateful for. A relationship, an opportunity, an avoidance of a challenge. What is it that you can cultivate gratitude for today? And can you share that as an outreach of joy in our community, to share each other's celebrations and to hold each other in our sorrows? Be well today. Reach out if you need help and assistance. Offer support if you have an abundance to share. But most importantly, may you know the ease of beginning again and the simplicity of breathe, move, rest as a strategy for living your best life. I'm Kimberlyn. This has been Storytime here at Life's Work Yoga, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste and bye for now.